Premium fuel, better performance. You already know that, except that's the least damaging belief on this entire list. The real problem is the habits that feel responsible. Filling to the brim, running to reserve, treating your bike to premium as a reward. Those careful habits are what's slowly killing your fuel system. 7 myths. By the time we reach number 7, you'll wonder how much it's already cost you. The premium gas myth. Let's start with the one that drains wallets at every gas station across America. The belief is simple. Premium fuel means better performance. Higher octane, more power, better mileage. It just makes sense, right? You put the good stuff in, you get more out. Your bike deserves the best. Wrong. And understanding why requires knowing what octane actually is, because most people have no idea. Octane rating has nothing to do with how much energy is in the fuel. Nothing. It does not mean the gas burns hotter, or faster, or cleaner. Those are myths. All octane measures is resistance to detonation. That's it. It's a number that tells you how much compression a fuel can handle before it ignites on its own. Higher compression engines, engines that squeeze the air-fuel mixture harder before igniting it, need that resistance. They need premium because without it, the fuel fires too early under pressure, and you get what's called knock or detonation. That uncontrolled ignition creates a shockwave inside the cylinder that hammers your pistons and destroys engines over time. But here's the thing. If your bike's engine doesn't run high compression, if your owner's manual says regular 87 octane, then premium fuel gives you absolutely nothing extra. The energy content is identical. The burn temperature is the same. You're just paying more for resistance your engine doesn't need. Now, where it gets interesting for us is the Japanese sport bikes. Many of them, your CBR 1000RR, your R1, your GSX-R1000, do recommend premium. And for those engines, running regular consistently will hurt you over time. Modern ECUs can retard ignition timing to compensate for lower octane, but they're fighting the engine's design. Power drops, efficiency drops, and long-term wear increases. So the rule is simple. Whatever your manufacturer specifies, that is the minimum. Not a suggestion, not a starting point. The minimum. If they say 91, run 91. If they say 87, running 93 is not helping you. It's just helping the fuel company. Check your owner's manual. It's on the fuel cap on most Japanese bikes. That number is your answer. If you're learning something valuable here, hit the subscribe button. That bell icon is right there. We post every other day. Don't miss it. The ethanol myth. This one causes genuine arguments on forums, and both sides usually get it partially wrong. Ethanol in gasoline is not new. In fact, most regular pump gas in America already contains up to 10% ethanol. You've probably seen the sticker on the pump that says may contain up to 10% ethanol. That's E10, and every modern Japanese motorcycle made in the last 20 years handles it without issue. But the myth goes in two directions. Some riders believe ethanol is harmless in any percentage. Others believe any ethanol at all is destroying their bike. Both are exaggerations. Here's what ethanol actually does. It has less energy per unit than pure gasoline, which means in theory, you'll use slightly more of it to travel the same distance. The effect on a modern fuel-injected bike is minimal. We're talking marginal differences you'll never notice in real riding. Your ECU adjusts. Modern fuel injection systems are calibrated to account for ethanol blends. Where ethanol becomes a real problem is in older bikes with carburetors, or bikes that sit for long periods. Ethanol absorbs water. In a bike that's parked for months, that moisture absorption can accelerate corrosion in the fuel system and gum up jets and needles and carbs. If you're storing a classic CB750 or an older carbureted bike, ethanol-free fuel for storage is genuinely better. E85, 85% ethanol, is a completely different story. It's designed for flex fuel vehicles. Run it in a standard motorcycle, and you'll run lean, potentially damage your engine, and almost certainly trigger fault codes or poor running. Don't do it. The practical takeaway. For modern Japanese bikes, E10 pump gas is perfectly fine. For carbureted classics or long-term storage, seek out ethanol-free premium if you can find it. For everything in between, stop worrying. The bigger enemy to your fuel system is neglect, not ethanol. The top-tier myth and the additive myth. We're going to cover two connected myths here because they feed each other. Myth 1. All gas is the same, regardless of where you buy it. Myth 2. You need to add fuel system cleaner to your tank regularly. Both of these are partially true in misleading ways. On the question of where you buy your fuel, there is actually a real difference, and it matters more than most riders think. In 2004, a group of major automakers including Toyota, Honda, BMW, and General Motors developed what's called top-tier gasoline standards. Top-tier certified fuel contains higher levels of detergent additives that keep fuel injectors, intake valves, and combustion chambers cleaner over time. Non-top-tier fuel only meets the EPA's minimum standard for detergents, which automakers argued wasn't enough for modern precision engines. Independent testing has shown that consistently using non-top-tier fuel leads to measurably more deposit buildup on intake valves and injectors compared to top-tier brands. Does this mean you should panic if you fill up at a no-name station once? No. But if your primary fueling station isn't top-tier certified, it's worth changing your habit. The list of top-tier certified stations is available online and includes most major brands. This is a real, documented difference, not marketing. Now the additive myth. Because riders hear about injector deposits and intake valve buildup, they go out and buy fuel system cleaner to dump in every few tanks, and the market for this stuff is enormous. Here's the truth. If you're already running top-tier fuel consistently in a well-maintained modern bike, you don't need to add anything. The detergents are already doing the job. Throwing extra cleaner in on top isn't doing more cleaning. At best, it's redundant. At worst, some cheap additives can actually interfere with fuel chemistry. There are specific situations where a quality fuel system cleaner makes sense. Coming back from a long storage period, buying an older used bike where maintenance history is unknown, or if you're dealing with injector hesitation that diagnostic work has pointed toward deposits. In those cases, a quality cleaner from a reputable brand used once is reasonable. But as a regular routine for a modern bike that runs consistently on good fuel, you're spending money you don't need to spend. And speaking of spending money you don't need to, if this is saving you cash and frustration, hit that like button and subscribe. More of this coming every 2 days, and you won't want to miss what's left in this video. The filling to the brim myth. This one sounds so innocent, so logical, so obviously correct. Fill it all the way up every time. Maximum range, fewer stops, simple. Here's why that thinking can actually hurt you on a motorcycle specifically. On a car, filling the tank completely to the brim is mostly harmless. The fuel system is sealed, the tank vents are well managed, and the scale of the issue is small relative to the overall system. But on a motorcycle, especially sport bikes and naked bikes, the geometry is different, the tanks are smaller, and the fuel sits closer to a hot engine. Most motorcycle fuel tanks have an expansion chamber built into them. That space above the fuel line exists for a reason. Gasoline expands, when it heats up. When you park a hot bike with a completely full tank in warm weather, that expansion has nowhere to go. Modern bikes have sealed evaporative emission systems to capture vapors, but those systems have limits. Overfilling can overwhelm the charcoal canister, flood your intake with fuel vapor, and cause running issues. On older bikes without evaporative systems, overfilling can push raw fuel out through the overflow tube onto a hot engine. You know what fuel does on a hot engine. There's also the handling argument. A full tank on a sport bike adds significant weight high up in the chassis. Fuel is heavy, about 6 pounds per gallon. A 5-gallon tank fully loaded versus half full is 30 pounds of difference, sitting high and forward. For canyon riding and aggressive sport use, a lighter tank actually improves handling measurably. The practical advice: fill to just below the neck of the filler. Leave a visible gap. Your fuel gauge will still read full. You'll still get your full rated range. But you've given the fuel room to expand safely and kept a bit of weight off the chassis. The fuel storage myth. This one destroys bikes slowly, quietly, expensively. The myth is that you can park a motorcycle with a full tank for an extended period and fuel quality doesn't degrade. You'll come back in spring and the gas will be just fine. It won't. Modern gasoline, especially the ethanol blend fuel most of us pump, begins degrading in as little as 30 days. The lighter, volatile compounds that make the fuel ignite cleanly start evaporating. Ethanol absorbs atmospheric moisture. By 90 days, the fuel has measurably changed. By 6 months, you potentially have a gummy, varnished mess that will clog jets in a carbureted bike or stick to injector nozzles in a fuel-injected one. The oxidation process also produces compounds that attack rubber fuel lines, O-rings, and seals from the inside. The damage doesn't always show up immediately, it accumulates. Then one day your bike starts hesitating, your idle is rough, your fuel economy has tanked, and the diagnosis points straight back to fuel system damage that started during storage. The solution has two components. First, use a quality fuel stabilizer if the bike is going to sit for more than a month. Run it through the entire system. Don't just add it to the tank, actually ride the bike or run the engine for a few minutes after adding it so the treated fuel reaches the carb or injectors. Second, for long-term storage beyond 3 months, consider draining the fuel system entirely. For carbureted bikes, this means running the carb bowls dry. For fuel-injected bikes, a full drain is harder, but a fresh tank of stabilizer-treated fuel is the minimum. When you pull the bike out of storage, if the fuel has been sitting more than 6 months without stabilizer, drain it. Don't try to run it. The cost of fresh fuel is nothing compared to a carburetor rebuild or injector service. Real quick, if you're learning something valuable here, and you've got a riding buddy who needs to hear this, share this video with them. And if you haven't subscribed yet, that bell icon is right there. We post every week, don't miss it. The hot weather fuel myth. Here's one you've probably heard during summer riding season. In hot weather, lower your tire pressure and run higher octane fuel because heat changes everything. The tire pressure part is a different video. But the fuel octane in hot weather myth? Let's address it. The belief is that hot weather causes more detonation, so you should run premium even if your bike normally takes regular. The logic sounds reasonable. Heat increases pressure inside the combustion chamber, which should increase knock tendency. Here's why this is mostly not how it works in practice. Modern fuel-injected Japanese bikes have knock sensors and adaptive ECU tuning. The engine management system is already adjusting ignition timing based on detected knock, continuously in real time. The ECU accounts for ambient conditions including temperature. It's doing the work automatically. What hot weather actually does require is more attention to your coolant system, your oil, and airflow through the radiator, not a change in fuel grade. The one scenario where hot weather and octane interact meaningfully is extreme performance use. If you're doing track days on a hot summer day, pushing a high compression engine hard for extended periods with ambient temperatures above 100 degrees, then yes, some riders running near the octane threshold of their engine's tune may want to bump up one grade as an extra margin of safety. This is edge case use, not street riding. For normal road use in summer, use whatever octane your manual specifies. Don't spend extra money on premium for temperature reasons. Direct that attention instead toward making sure your coolant is fresh, your radiator fins are clean, and your oil level is correct. Those 3 things will do infinitely more for your engine in the heat than upgrading octane unnecessarily. The reserve tank myth. We're saving the most dangerous myth for last. Dangerous not because it'll blow up your engine overnight, but because it's the habit that silently shortens the life of a critical and expensive component. The myth, running down to reserve before you fill up, is totally fine. That's what reserve is there for. You're supposed to use it. Technically, yes. Reserve is there to prevent you from being stranded. But here's what's happening inside your fuel system every time you run it low. On most modern Japanese motorcycles, the fuel pump is located inside the fuel tank and submerged in gasoline. That submersion isn't just about access. The fuel itself cools and lubricates the fuel pump. When you consistently run the tank low, the pump is no longer fully submerged. It runs hotter. It works harder to pull fuel from the bottom of the tank. The bearings and motor windings experience accelerated wear from the combination of heat and reduced lubrication. Over time, and we're talking years of this habit, not a single incident, fuel pump longevity drops significantly. A fuel pump replacement on a sport bike isn't cheap. Parts and labor can run several $100s, and on some bikes accessing the pump requires significant disassembly. There's a second issue. The bottom of your fuel tank, over time, collects sediment, microscopic particles, rust, if any corrosion has occurred, debris from fuel itself. When the tank is low, this sediment gets stirred up and pulled toward the fuel filter and pump. Running consistently low accelerates filter clogging and can push contaminants into the fuel injectors. The simple habit change: fill up when the gauge hits a quarter tank, not when the warning light comes on, not when you've used your reserve. A quarter tank. It keeps the pump cooled and lubricated. It keeps sediment settled at the bottom where it belongs, and it keeps contaminants out of your injectors. This is especially important in winter or cold climates. Low fuel levels increase the airspace inside the tank, which increases condensation. That moisture mixes with ethanol blend fuel and creates the exact conditions for accelerated corrosion and pump wear. One habit change. Enormous long-term benefit. So let's bring it back to where we started. You've been doing it wrong. Every single tank. Maybe you've been buying premium for a bike that runs perfectly on 87. Maybe you've been topping off every tank to the brim. Maybe you've been running reserve every single fill-up thinking that's what it's there for. Maybe your bike is sitting in a garage right now with old, untreated fuel slowly varnishing every surface it touches. None of these mistakes will destroy your bike this week. That's actually why they're so dangerous. They're slow, they're subtle, they accumulate over thousands of miles and years of ownership until one day you're facing an injector service, a fuel pump replacement, a carb rebuild, and nobody thinks to trace it back to the fuel habits. The Japanese engineers who designed your CBR, your GSXR, your Ninja, your R1, they built those specifications for a reason. The octane number on your fuel cap isn't a starting point. It's not a minimum that you can improve upon with premium gas. It's the result of engineering work that accounts for your exact compression ratio, combustion chamber geometry, and ignition timing map. Respect the engineering. Use the right fuel at the right time, from the right source, with the right storage habits. That's it. That's the whole job. If this video cleared up even one myth you've been running with, do me a favor, share it with a rider you know, because I guarantee someone in your riding group is filling their bike to the brim every single time, or running to reserve out of habit, or paying extra for premium on a regular octane engine. Drop in the comments, which of these myths were you guilty of? I want to know. And if there are fuel myths I didn't cover that you've heard in your riding community, put them down below. The best ones might end up in a follow-up video. If you want more content like this, real, technical, no-nonsense information about Japanese motorcycles, subscribe and hit the bell. We cover everything from maintenance secrets to riding technique to deep dives on the bikes that shape the culture every other day. I'll see you in the next one.